Let's see options in the transitions. We have discussed about statuses and transitions. Further, to enhance our workflow, we have few options in transitions. Let's see about these options. So there are 5 options that we have in a transition. These are properties, triggers, conditions, validators, and post functions. Let's discuss about these options and how we can associate our transition with these options. Let's first look into conditions. Click on conditions. Enter password. So now we have a transition state as close. Now this transition will change our status from in review to. We can put some conditions on a transition. Conditions control whether a transition should be executed by the user. We have some predefined conditions that we can associate with the transition. Click on Add Condition. Following are the conditions that we can associate with a transition. For example, we have conditions that can be used to allow only the assignee to execute a transition. We have conditions that allow users in a given project role to execute a transition. Let's add one condition to our transition. Let's choose the condition, only assignee condition, which allow only the assignee to execute a transition. Click on Add. We can see the condition gets added. Only the assignee of the issue can execute this transition. So we have a transition in our workflow as close, which changes the status of the issue from in review to done. We have added the condition where only the assignee of the issue can execute this transition. Let's say I want only the project role as QA can use this transition and change the status of the issue from in review to done. Let's add a condition. Click on Add Condition. Choose condition user is in project role. It allows only users in a given project role to execute a transition. Click on Add. We need to select the project role which we need to allow to execute this transition. I want project role as QA. Click on Add. So the condition gets added, where only users in project role QA can execute this transition. We also have options to edit the condition that we added for transition. We can also delete the condition that we have added for transition. And we have one more option that is called Add Group Condition. We can also create group condition based on the requirement of our workflow. Here we have option where we can select all of the following conditions or any of the following conditions. If we select all of the following conditions, that means user having access of all the conditions defined can execute this transition. But if we select any of the following condition, that means user having access of any one of the added condition can execute this transition. Let's select any one of the following condition. Because in our case, in our workflow, we want the assignee of the issue can execute this transition. Also, the project role having QA can execute this transition. This is how we can add conditions on each transition based on our requirement and our workflow design. Let's further discuss about another options that we have. Validators. Validators check that any input made to the transition is valid before the transition is performed. I want to add a validator for some other transition that we have in our workflow. Let's go back to the workflow that we have created. Click on Workflows. Click on Inactive. So the workflow that we have created is with the name PayM1003. Click on Add It. Click on diagram. Let's say I want to add the validator to the transition initiate. Click on validators. Now click on add validator. Here we have two options, permission validator and user permission validator. Although user permission validator is an obsolete option. Choose permission validator. Validators includes permission. Here we need to choose the permission which user can have to change the transition. For this transition, I want my Scrum Master to make the change of status of my Jira. Let's choose the permission as manage sprints. Click on add. So I have choose the permission as manage sprints because only the Scrum Master has access to manage sprint. So the Scrum Master can also have the access to initiate, to change the transition from open to to-do state of any issue. In validators, we also have option to edit and delete. So this is how we can add validators to the transitions. Let's discuss about further options that we have